Yesterday, I posted a short with these books right here, beautifully wrapped. And today, we're going to open them. Hello and welcome back to Paper Pages and Possibilities. I'm excited to have you here today. You might have guessed what these books are based on the numbers that are on the books. I thought I would do a fun spin on my top 10 books of the year. Christmas might be over, but I'm not done unwrapping things. So I thought it would add a little bit of anticipation, a little bit of fun. So we will unwrap together my top 10 books of the year. And without further ado, let's get into the first one. And hopefully these don't topple over while I am opening. All right. So we have got book number 10. And I'm going to do the non-adult thing and actually rip the paper, which I typically don't do when I unwrap presents. So this will be kind of special for me. So let's start. Give you an idea. We have upside down. The Lost Bookshop is my number 10 pick for the year. This was a really fun story, like unique, and I enjoyed the characters that were in this book and the story, what it ended up meaning for the main character in the end. It was just very touching, very heartwarming. Like each person was going through their own thing, but I think this bookshop helped to heal. So that was my number 10. Just a quick note, all of these are 5 stars that I rated throughout the year, and it was something that helped me narrow down my top 10 because I thought about all the books that I read, and it was a daunting thought to try and rank all 50 or something and rank each one against the other. And then I thought, you know what, let's just go with the ones I rated 5-star, because those are probably going to be my top 10 somewhere in there. So all right, but we are down to number 9. This one is a little bit thinner. Let's find out what we got. Again, upside down. And we have... Oh, it was right side up. We have On Dublin Street by Samantha Young. This is a romance, and I had so much fun with this book. It was the banter that really did it for me. As the two main characters were falling in love, like the banter just back and forth, the snide remarks, comebacks, it really made the story for me. So that is number 9. All right, number 8, we have something a little bit thicker this time. And this had a slight accident. I dropped it a little bit. So that makes it easier to start unwrapping. Let me go. And I'm sure that gives most an idea of what this is. But we have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. So this one, for me, was a really big payoff from what happened in book 1. So it was just such a fairly satisfying ending, a satisfying turnaround fairly early in the book because I was pretty devastated, well, somewhat devastated at the end of book one. So it felt really good to get some sort of resolution to the cliffhanger in book one. Uh, so definitely enjoyed this one. I think my favorite of the series, having just finished A Court of Wings and Ruin, that is very close, but it was so late in the year I didn't include it in my decision making. So, next we got number 7. It's in one piece. It's okay. And another little tiny read. Let's see what this is. This one was actually an arc that I had earlier this year that I enjoyed so much I had to get the book. And that is Grim Curiosities by Sharon Lynn Fisher. This was a very endearing story. It's set in 1851, Old York, so in England, and it is, I consider it Regency. It's a Regency read, and it is a romance, but it's got some aspects of fantasy in it, and maybe a little bit of thriller. So absolutely loved it. This is actually a little bit more of a holiday read, believe it or not, the where it gets to toward the end of the book. So not to give any spoilers, but I would say this is a really good book to read between Halloween and the end of the year. So love this one. I knew it was gonna happen. Stay put. Okay. All right, down to number 6. This one is a hardback. First hardback in the bunch. I don't have a lot of hardbacks. I'm finding that I now really enjoy the trade paperbacks as my favorite format. Just the sizing feels really good to read through. So that's probably what I'm going to steer toward any time I buy books going forward. But let's see what number 6 is. This one was another arc that was so good I had to get a copy. And this one is A Song to Drown Rivers. And this is one of those with the beautiful sprayed edges and beautiful end papers. Ooh, I don't know if I'd actually looked at that part before. Very nice. So this one is a set in Asia. Oh, China. Okay. This is inspired by the legend of Zixi, one of the famous 4 beauties of ancient China. So it's an epic novel steeped in myth about womanhood, war, sacrifice, and love against all odds, as the fate of 2 kingdoms hangs in a delicate balance. So it is a very fascinating story. Very descriptive. I was really in love with the setting that An Liang wrote. It's just like beautifully descriptive, almost artistic, very, very detailed. So that's one of the things that really sold this for me. The other thing is the story is really It's heart-wrenching but empowering at the same time. So just really, really enjoyed it. All right, down to top 5. And hopefully everything else stays put. Okay. All right, so number 5, we've got another thin one. You might be able to tell on that corner. Got some orange. We have The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I feel so strange every time I say his name. I feel like I'm not saying it right, saying it with like a odd accent. Anyhow, it's a fable of sorts, and a really fun, I don't know about fun, but it was very mind-blowing for me. I guess it hit home is a good way to put it. A lot of annotations in this one. Like, I could pull out a dozen quotes out of this that really stand strong on their own and give you a sense of, like, that's a long lasting quote that you might find decades down the road. It's all about like personal destiny, personal like legend is the way it's called in the book, and going on that journey to find out what your legend is, what your personal legend is, kind of like what your life purpose is. It follows that story arc of going on a journey to find a treasure only to return and find that the journey itself was the treasure, but the treasure was also there where you left from the beginning. So, really, really enjoyed this. Right, number 4. We have another slightly thicker book. Let's see what we've got here. This one will be upside down. Let's try that. Get it straight sometimes. Alright. This one is The Sparrow. This is by Mary Dorian Russell. And this, you might remember if you've been watching my videos, this was an experiment to have AI recommend me a book based on some of the past books I had read and enjoyed. So I gave it a list of, I think, 5 of my top books, and this is the book that it recommended. And I did absolutely thoroughly enjoy this. The fact that it's number 4 on my list, I think, speaks pretty well to the AI's decision making. So I am definitely planning to do a little bit more experimentation with AI in the new year in terms of like having it pick my books, or finding ways to engage AI in a book related way. So keeping an eye out and trying to percolate some ideas on how to do that. So we got The Sparrow. This is it's a sci-fi, but also a spiritual read. So sci-fi, Christian, um, actually, yeah, Jesuit. Jesuit, that's what it is. So it's definitely got that's the science aspect. It's got the spiritual aspect. It also has like how to heal from trauma, getting to know a new culture, things like that. It's just like really, I had a hard time putting it down. Absolutely, I did love this one. It's yeah. All right, number 3. Getting to the top 3 now. We have our second hardback. This one's pretty sizable. I think the biggest of the bunch. And this one is Ship of Theseus. And this is actually a read. This is considered ergodic literature. So it kind of stretches the boundaries of what a book is. And with this one, I love this, and I would love more of this. This makes reading more of an experience because it draws you into the story. Not only is there multiple layers in this story, but you're drawn in by like actual things that are included in the book that relate to the story. So there's like newspaper clippings, postcard, and they all connect to the story. So it's like you picked up this book at a library and you are learning both the original story of Ship of Theseus, but you're also learning the story of a couple that notated inside the book and basically started a friendship, potentially more, in the pages of the book. So this is like, I would love more of this. And I was thinking part of Epistolary January, but no, it's not really in itself letters or correspondence of any sort. It's the correspondence is more in the margins. So, but still, absolutely, highly recommend. I think one of the books that I am going to remember for a very long time. All right, down to the last two. We have number 2, another thin one. I had some pretty good variety between thick and thin pages. Most of you might know, if you've read this book, you probably already know what book this is. And we have Half a Soul. This is by Olivia Atwater. This is, for me, the absolute coziest read. I absolutely, I cannot even begin to describe the warm, fuzzy feelings I got reading this book. This is another one that is Regency England, and I'm starting to think maybe I need to read more Regency books because I've got 2 of them on my top 10. But this one has a fantasy element in it, and if you read the book, my absolute favorite scene is the ball with Starlight. If you haven't read it, you have to. For that scene alone, it was I hate to do the meme, but chef's kiss. So I am so looking forward to the 2 other books in this. I guess it's a trilogy. I don't know if it's going to go beyond that, but they are very high on my TBR for 2025. All right, number 1. And I'm curious if you've been following my journey from the beginning, if you might have an idea based on some of the books I've talked about, what book this might be. It's a sci-fi. It's in a setting that is completely different from what I've encountered before. It's kind of apocalyptic. That might tell you a lot. And it has just a lot of elements like sci-fi, apocalyptic, that, like, those are two of my favorite genres. But we have The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. Absolutely, like, this is my favorite of the year. Like, just the whole world building, absolutely beautiful. Like, we get to see a whole planet, and in the midst of it, there's this huge upheaval that's happening on a geological scale. And the two main characters that we're following have a lot to do with that. And I cannot wait to get to the rest of the series. I believe this is another trilogy. I know there's at least two other books, and they again are also very high on my TBR for 2025. So, those are my top 10 for the year. A little stack here. Top 10 for the year. I'm curious, I haven't really analyzed it yet, but see, I've got two sci-fi, one, two, three fantasy, one romance. Well, one that's specifically romance, but I think two others that have a romance aspect. Or no. One, two, three, four, five. Five of the 10 actually have a romance aspect to it. So I do enjoy a good romance, but it has to be not the central theme of the story. It has to be just a big part of the developing plot. So I am very curious. I'd love to hear your thoughts about my top 10. Are any of them on your top 10, either for the year or previous years? Any of them you haven't read that you are now very interested in reading? I would love to hear all of your thoughts down in the comments. And please leave a like if you love the content today. And next week, I will be talking about my plans for 2025. I'm very excited with what I hope to get up to in the next year. In the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and I may not see you until then, so also a very happy new year. Take care.